on. So for now, Andrew, back to you.
All right, thank you, Jason. Marietta City Council is moving forward with legal action against a state agency over an injection well that officials and residents worry would threaten the city's drinking water. During tonight's meeting, the council voted 6-1 to pass Resolution 80. The resolution grants City Law Director Paul Bertram permission to pursue a writ mandamus against the Ohio Department of Natural Resources over a permit for an injection well granted to Deep Rock Disposal Solutions. Council members have argued ODNR was improperly applying old, less strict rules to the permit despite stricter regulations being adopted in 2022. The only council member to vote against Resolution 80 was Ben Rutherford. Council also unanimously voted to pass Resolution 79, sponsored by Rutherford, which calls for the creation of a special ad hoc committee to study the risks of injection wells in greater detail. All council members also voted to approve Resolution 81, which urges the state legislature to impose a 3-year moratorium on all injection wells in the state of Ohio. The meeting was attended by dozens of members of the public, many of whom spoke in support of the city's actions on injection wells during the public comment portion of the meeting. We'll have more on tonight's Marietta City Council meeting during our newscast tomorrow evening. Chapmanville Regional High